everybody, happy Tuesday. So 2 weeks ago, there was no new video of my chronic migraine life, and the reason for that was fairly simple. I hadn't had any videos filmed that I was saving to share. I thought I would just wake up and film whatever was on my mind and share it with you at that point. However, that didn't happen. I spent most of that morning in urgent care, and when I got home, quite frankly, I was not in the mood to talk to you guys or even think about anything health-related. The reason for that was that over the weekend, I had been going through my basement and doing some cleaning and Christmas decorating, as you can see behind me. And I thought initially that I just had some dust in my eye. My eyes were starting to get very dry and itchy, and so I was putting lots of clear drops in them and just sort of, waiting for it to be over. But I noticed from like Sunday night to Tuesday morning, I was developing a sty, well, the other eye, in the corner of my eye. And so while those were annoying, I wasn't really too concerned. I put some hot compresses on, again with the clear drops, and just sort of hoped it would go away. But as with everything in my life, no such luck. By Tuesday morning, like 2 a.m., my eye was red, bright red, and swollen. The top of my eyelid was incredibly swollen, and it hurt like hell. And I was annoyed and, of course, concerned. I thought maybe because my eye had started to like tear a little bit and was a little wet, that maybe I was getting pink eye. I mean, I really didn't think it was pink eye because I've had pink eye before. And, if you've had pink eye or had a kid that had pink eye, it's disgusting. There's no way to mistake that for anything else. And that wasn't really it. My actual eye wasn't red or pink. It was the eyelid. And it wasn't really like gooey or crusty or all those disgusting things that happen with pink eye. So I assumed it was just the sty, but because I am now heightenedly aware of everything that happens to my eyes since I had surgery, cataract surgery earlier this year, I don't want to fuck with them. I don't want anything else to be wrong with them. I don't want to take a chance that it's an infection that I'm letting, it get worse or anything like that. So I got up super early, even though, of course, I went to bed, like I said, very, very late. And figured that when urgent care opened at 7, I'd be the first one online. I don't know what I was thinking. In our current COVID climate in New York City, now that everyone has to get tested before or after they leave, and with all the constantly changing regulations around school, I don't have a child in school. I'm not a teacher. I don't even really know what the current testing rules are or anything like that. But I know that there's been lines. I'm like, okay, fine. Keep in mind, I got to urgent care probably about 6:45, thinking they opened at 7. There had to be 40 people online. What I realized much later was that they were locking the urgent cares and not letting anybody wait in the waiting room anymore. Prior to that, they used to have, this year, I guess, have like a handful of people spread out, but maybe that wasn't working or they were just really afraid. I don't blame them. So everybody was outside, but the line was incredibly long. My ankle, as you've known, has been giving me some trouble, and so the thought of waiting was starting to, freak me out. Because of my eye and because I couldn't really stand so long, it was a combination of things. So I went driving around Brooklyn looking for an urgent care that would take me fast. I mean, waiting comes with it, but within a reasonable amount of time. Fast forward an hour and a half, I found an urgent care not very close to my house, but whatever. They had like 3 people ahead of me. Again, with the locked door, so there's 3 people that were ahead of me, were the only 3 people ahead of me because there was nobody inside. But they were incredibly efficient, and once they realized I was the only person online that had no interest in a COVID test or COVID symptoms, thank God, or any of those things, I was seen fairly fast. The doctor came in, he looked at my eye for like 4 seconds. He was like, "You have a sty." He gave me some ointment, antibiotic ointment, to put on the top of my eyelid, and told me, just really do hot compresses all day long, it'll go away. Here's the thing with urgent care. By definition, it is urgent care. It's if you're bleeding or you can't get to your doctor and you have strep throat, nowadays COVID, but it's not medical treatment, right? It's care that you need very fast because something has come up inconveniently and you need to be treated, right then and there. Even if it's not all of the treatment, it's just something to hold you over till you could see the specialist you need or whatever else you need. So I think I would have felt more comfortable if it was like I needed a stitch and this guy was sewing me up. But because, again, I'm sensitive with my eyes and I know this person is not an eye doctor and they don't have the machine you stick your face into. He literally took that. I have no idea what any of the names of the instruments are. The little thing that you hold in your hand and he sort of just flashed the light in my eye and looked real quick. I wasn't really comfortable. I mean, I was comfortable enough to know that it wasn't pink eye, but my eye really hurt. My eyelid, it was on the outside, definitely, I knew that, but it looked awful, and it seemed to be looking worse and worse, and, even using the ointment, I was a little hesitant. I know it was on the outside of my eye, but I don't really know what's in it, and I have become a girl that, just highly aware of what medications can do to you and, if they interact with other things, even if it's not common. That seems to be my specialty. So this was a Tuesday, and so I spent the next few days trying to get in touch with my eye doctor. As I mentioned a couple of videos ago in my License to Kill video, one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about people seeking the right treatment and finding the right doctor for them is for situations as small as this and as big and serious as you can imagine. Things tend to always happen when people are away on vacation, the doctor, I mean, or you can't get a hold of them or in the middle of the night, and you need a person that you can call. You always need a game plan. And so I knew it would take some time for them to get back to me because they're incredibly busy, and, explaining what was wrong with my eye didn't sound that dramatic. I had been seen by an urgent care doctor. But luckily, the physician I go to and the team that they work with are just go above and beyond. And thankfully, after a whole entire year of me as their patient, they know that I am a girl that is going to ask a million questions and insist on being seen. And I want to say need a lot of hand-holding, but it's not really hand-holding. It's actual information about my eye. And I want to be sure that it's right. And they are now on board with that, thankfully. Anyway, they let me come 7:30 Friday. So, within 3 days is pretty reasonable. I wasn't bloody. My eye wasn't falling out of my head. So, I know they're crazy busy, overbooked, I'm sure. And they took me first thing that morning. And that was a great comfort to me, even though I had to go back to the Bronx, which is not convenient for me at all, but it's worth it. When I find a doctor I like, I would literally go anywhere to find them, especially when they take my insurance. So I get my eye checked, and by this point, it's now the swelling is mostly gone, the redness is gone. It's a very, very little sty-like circular bump on my eyelid, but it's very, very small. But in those 3 days, applying the ointment that they gave me at urgent care, my eyelid is just not right. And now I'm noticing it, I feel it in the other eye. So I'm like, oh God, maybe I used one hand, I rubbed one eye and I touched the other or something like that. And I'm like, maybe I have some other kind of I don't really think it's an infection, but of course I want to rule that out. Or maybe it has something to do with the surgery, although that's not really my gut feeling. But they're irritated and itchy. And so I thought they kind of feel I could see clearly, but they're glossy when I try to read, kind of, but not really wet. It's very strange. So I thought maybe I had some kind of dry eye condition or something, and I really thought I needed some kind of specialty drop. So I was like, okay, that's not a big deal. So I finally see my doctor, and I love him because he just knows, even after the end of our whole conversation, he's like, you sure you don't have any questions? You sure you don't have any more questions? I'm the question queen. And he looks in my eyes, and everything looks pretty great. My pressure is good. My eyes are good. But immediately, he knows what's wrong with me. And it's not any of the things I could have guessed. I don't even know how to properly pronounce it. Something with a B. I think it's Blepharitis or something. Forgive me, I'm butchering it. Essentially, and he shows me on his laptop that's sitting next to him, I have a chronic inflammation of my eyelid. It's not actually the eye. I was right about that part. The eyelid. Apparently, in our eyelids, we have microscopic, tiny, tiny little glands and, dirt, oil that breaks down, from whatever's in your eye. I don't know. Can get clogged, essentially. And you can get like a crust around your eyelid, or it could be a little wet, or it could just be dry and irritated. And that's really it. So I hear the word chronic, and because this is my chronic migraine life, after all, I'm instantly like, what are you talking about? He said, well, once you have this condition, you have it for life. There has nothing to do with the surgery. It has nothing to do with why I didn't have it last Tuesday. Now I have it today. Obviously, I've probably had it for a while, but now it was a lot of buildup. But it's forever. We'll get to that in a second. And I'm like, well, how do I treat it? What kind of drop the ointment? He says I can still use the ointment for the sty, or if my eye feels better with it occasionally from urgent care. But there are no drops. I could use the saline, drops if that seems to feel better. But really what I have to do twice a day, best to do it in the shower or, when you wash your face, is to sort of close your eyelids and scrub, like with your fingertip, and rub and rub and rub and rub and like press. And like just make sure that you're cleaning them out. Of course, there's no way to know that. But my eyelids are inflamed. And so I'm trying to take this in and goes against everything that I've been thinking about this year with in terms of cataract surgeries, to not rub your eye, right? And this guy's telling me to rub my eyelids, like to clean them or whatever with, water, not soap. And I'm thinking, what? We went over it like 3 times and I still was like, I can't even believe this is happening. That weekend, the weather was kind of crazy, and so because I have a migraine brain, and again, I have no scientific or medical background to prove this, but because I know my body and I believe it has everything to do with my migraines, I have a lot of inflammation in my body. I believe that's why my ankle acts up. I know that I feel it in my stomach sometimes. And while I will be addressing that with food and other things going forward, it really is not something I can do. It's not like I'm conjuring up all this inflammation. It's just how my body works. And now to hear that it hit my eye, I'll be honest with you, it was all I could do not to burst into hysterical crying. And now I acknowledge that of all the things that have happened to me this year and any year, this is not that big of a deal. He wants me to, when I wash my face, rub my eyelids. It's the word chronic. Forever. I have such a deep, deep pain associated with that word. When I was first diagnosed as a chronic migraine patient, when they used the word chronic, they meant it as chronic in terms of daily effects of dealing with the illness, not necessarily for the rest of my life, although I would later realize that that's also part of it. But now, being so upfront and honest, which of course is what I want. I am a girl that wants the whole story. I want to know all of the things associated with any condition I have because, going forward, it would just only help me. But I wanted to have an enormous pity party. On the inside of myself, I was just this. It's like a combination of I'm not even really surprised, but I am really surprised, but I'm devastated and annoyed and frustrated, and my eyes feel like crap and there's nothing I can do about it. And really. To then have to proceed with your life and pretend like it's not driving you crazy is a falsehood. So I did what I normally do in these kinds of situations when I feel very overwhelmed and stuff. I let myself have the giant pity party in my head mostly, or maybe there's a tear or two that's shed, depending on what I am also doing that day or in the moment. Maybe it's not right away. Usually it is. I let myself have a giant pity party for 5 minutes. Just pity myself. Oh, woe is me. I cry, I scream, I do whatever I have to do. I let myself feel all of the things that I'm feeling because they're valid to me. I have the biggest pity party in my head. Curse, I swear. And then I say, okay, you did it. We know how you feel about it. Is that going to help us? No. Can you carry that around with you forever? No. I'm sure there'll be remnants of that pity party in my head occasionally, especially when my eyes bother me. But no, you have to let it go and move forward. Count your blessings and all that other stuff, which now sounds insincere, but I am really a positive person and really know that all the little things that make up my life aren't really as serious as they could be. And I am grateful and blessed and all of those things 90% of the time. But that other 10% is divided amongst the days and moments of my week in terms of just frustration and just like, I don't even know what. It's not even a why it's me. It's like I don't even believe this shit is still happening. The other thing is that my eyes feel inflamed. Now that he gave me that word, they truly feel inflamed. My eyelids, eyeball, whatever it is. I don't know how to explain what that feels like, but again, the dry, the irritated. I notice when it's about to rain. So my migraine brain hates rain, hates changes in the atmosphere, the pressure, barometric pressure, humidity, all of those things. Really hates weather. Unsteady weather. And so I noticed that when my head is starting to bother me, I'm a week due for Botox. Stomach starts to bother me, my ankle, my eyes. Sometimes even look swollen now, I noticed. Or puffy, really. I don't know if maybe you could tell a little bit now, but they feel like it to me. My eyelids feel very heavy. And they're irritated. They feel very irritated. Maybe that's the word. And they feel sticky to me, but they're not really sticky. And I want to rub them extra, and that doesn't help anything. And trying not to touch them with dirty hands, but it's irritating to me. I mean, it's been 2 weeks since I got diagnosed, and so I'm like, I guess, over it for the most part. But it sort of sparked a conversation with myself, and sort of decided, in the 3 days between going to urgent care and then knowing what I had wrong with me, I sort of, even despite the 5-minute pity party rule, decided that I would change my approach. Okay, so last time we talked about when I feel shame, when I'm really in the midst of a really bad physical day. Something is really wrong with me and I'm just not feeling well. I don't feel shame about this, and this isn't the kind of sickness that I was talking about then. I decided that I'm going to be a boss bitch. There's no other way. I am CEO of my body, and in the 3 days where I decided that I absolutely insisted on seeing my eye doctor that week, that it was a point of power, not weakness. You know, with COVID, of course, I try not to go out as much, especially to doctors' offices. It stresses me out to be there, even if they're taking all the precautions, because I'm terrified. And so, you know, did I really need to go to the eye doctor? The urgent care guy said it was fine. My eye looked better. It still felt sort of strange, but, you know, that hemming and hawing, I don't do that anymore. I haven't done it for a long time. When I know something is wrong with my body, I listen to my body. And my body is telling me, check your eye. You want peace of mind. What if it gets worse over the weekend and you can't get a hold of your eye doctor? What if? All the things that I discussed in my License to Kill video. You know, I don't have a game plan. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I have a little bit of ointment that's like, literally the tube is this big. And that runs out, and then what happens, right? I'm not going back to my eye doctor till next year, April, God willing. And so I'm just supposed to let this go? It's annoying. And it is almost a full-time job to make the phone calls and the research and make the appointments and schlep wherever you have to go to get the doctor and get the help you need. But it's worth it. And I know that. And so I decided in those days, in those moments, that while I'm allowed to feel frustrated, annoyed, disappointed, and even devastated over something big or small, health-related, doesn't mean I'm not going to still be the boss bitch of my body. I'm not going to still be vigilant about my stop being vigilant about my health. I'm not going to be apologizing about it. I'm not going to be any other way. It's a new approach. It's a new Donna in some ways. Or it's just the way that I'm talking to myself. You know, I'm a firm believer in that we have to be extra careful about the words that we say to ourselves because we are the ones that are listening, the only ones that are listening, and the only ones that matter. And so it's really hard to not beat up on ourselves when we're feeling overburdened. And when it comes to health, it's kind of a hard thing when you feel like I'm juggling all these balls, and I don't want to. I just don't want to deal with it. And it's easier some ways to just put it over there, and you'll deal with it later, which of course means you will either never deal with it or deal with it when it becomes progressively worse, and now you've maybe missed a chance to help yourself in some way. So that's what I decided. I decided that I am going to be the boss bitch of my health and my chronic migraine life. And something about that feels really good, ironically enough. It feels like I know I will do literally whatever it takes, whether it's eye surgery or going to the eye doctor every 2 months for the rest of my life, to make sure that I am physically the best version of myself. Because without being physically the best version of myself, there's no way I can emotionally, mentally live my very best life. There's just no way. I suppose some of this might have to do with, in just a few days, I'll be turning 39. And around birthdays, you know, I feel like I'm always looking back and forward. I always want to see how far I've grown, if I think I've grown enough in the right ways, and what I really want to embody in this next year of my life, this next chapter. I feel like every year is a new chapter. And so as I turn 39, I really want to take all of the little things that come, all of the chronic new things that are sure to come my way, with a little bit of always honesty, grace, dignity. Those get away from me sometimes. But truth and courage and strength. Always strength. Strength is something that, you know, of all the things I wish in my character, that's the thing that I want the most. I want to be vigilant in being strong for myself and being my best advocate, because I really believe that we can only be the best advocates for ourselves. If you can't be a good advocate for yourself, you can't be a good advocate for anybody else or anything else. And that in my way to help other people, even small ways, I have to take care of myself. And if I don't know how to take care of myself or love myself truly, despite all of my flaws, whatever kind of flaw that I feel that they are, I will never be able to love or accept or really be compassionate for anybody else. I really believe that that's important. So as I turn 39, I am going to embrace all of my chronic illnesses, including this new eyelid inflammation. I have no idea. It's strange. Look it up. In the description of this video, I will spell the proper name of what this condition is called, and feel free to look it up. On that note, until next time, guys, I'm wishing you a very, very healthy rest of the week, and may your chronic migraine life be as entertaining to you as mine is to me.